Peace in Islam. Today in this video we're gonna go over some comments that were made on a video. I'm gonna show you Moorish American history versus Roman American history that we get in our public schools history books that we know, written by Preston Hall, Texas Instrument, these historical societies. But the one thing you do know is that you out of 12 years in the public school system, you ain't hear about the word Moor or Morocco. And there's a reason for that. Because you hear about every European country there is. So we can show you how they think. So you say Cape Blanco is a Cape in Morocco. There's somebody commenting on my video. Cape Blanco situated west of the Olad Brahim, northwest of Bir Olad El Hajj Samin. So we can show you what these people do. Instead of watching the video, understanding and getting an understanding what you're talking about. You really believe that I can't just do this. Man, look at that. They ain't even give the one that he want. So that's what he, yeah, that's what he talking about. Which, if even smart, but you can't expect that from people who either Romans or they mentally subjugated by Romans. It might be Moors, but a lot of us mentally subjugated. But a smart person will realize that it just means the white headland or the white cape. So you can imagine how many white capes that is. So telling me about one in West Africa, like I don't know, is ridiculous. And that's the reason why, right here. Because of history connected to a white cape. So if you're reading these comments, you know how these people think. And one of the comments, he would talk about Annabone being in, I think, Uruguay or Paraguay. I think he said Paraguay in the comment section. So that means somebody who got an open mind, who ain't mentally disturbed by Rome. So he know better, which will make sense because Guinea Gulf, we talking about Guyana today. But he can't get that. So that's what he talking about, right? We're gonna rebut him today. A lot. And that's the only reason why. Well, show him how slow he is. So he talk about the Rio de Oro, the river of gold, or the river that flowed northeast Morocco to reach the Mediterranean Sea, the harbor of the Spanish. See how these Romans think? Because he ain't got no problem for Spanish being taking over the Americas in history books, ruling half the continent, enclave in Melilla. So he try to put the Moors, he try to keep the Moors and the Moroccans in the empire of Moors and the Moroccans. In his mind, he want our views to believe like he believe right here. And about Rome, from kindergarten to 12th grade, gonna tell you that this right here, see that SPAN, control half of this New Spain and all these other places. And you don't question them, but you come to question me. He ain't question not one of his history teacher in school. Why you want to come question me? I'm going to teach him and his history teacher, because I don't play with none of them. And you shouldn't either, because these people, everybody get to write about history and don't get questioning anything they want. If they in a suit and they skin lighting up. But not only that, it ain't even on everybody who dark skin all the Moors in the world. It's just the ones in Northwest and North America who gotta put people in the time machine to go back and show them something, because we gonna get questioned. So I tell him to go to the Spanish History Channel to talk about that, if that's how he want to think about it. And then somebody send me this, so I could rebut this too easily. So he talking about how America don't mean Morocco. He probably think America come from Americo Vespucius. So we can rebut that. We can rebut this. And even something else he said rebut. Oh yeah, Africa, what that really means, a Mexim, how that connected to that term, how the term of Mexim became African in the Christian books, Portuguese, Spanish, English, how that get changed again to in our times to something that means one thing and not another. How back then Moors were calling it a Mexim, and how the Portuguese were calling it Africa. And we're talking about half the world. So I could do those three things. Probably do them as fast as possible. So this claim that there is not one, and he put in big, historical reference. So that's easy for a historical reference. It'll be harder for me to get legal, like a treaty or a thing that I can treat a piece of friendship. Already tell you what a Sultan call America. He call it Morocco in another language. But we're gonna rebut that. I can show you the Sultans, as he said, the Sultan, not just Moors. He want to know if the Sultan holding his seat of power here in the Americas. He said there is not, even though he ain't look. He just assuming that it's not, because he Roman. He's been taught by them. I was shit. And I can think back, the more I think back, the more I realize that's the one thing that I never tell me. Shit, I been on the streets, I ain't know nothing about no Moroccan or Moors or America, being in America, let alone being existent let alone in America. The only thing I know about them is the little bit of things they see here and there, TV and stuff talking about. And Afrocentrics talking about how, oh yeah, you know we used to rule Spain for 700 years. Those same old baby elementary shit. And ain't had that right. But now I'm here. So we're gonna go through this again. So we're talking about Egypt, the capital empire, of the Dominion of Africa, or a Mexican. He talking to you in English. He dealing with you because he understand 1920. Them niggas been under Roman rule, and they have a lot of them had the way they've been expressing that been the same way the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the English been expressing these things. So they've been called a mix of Africa too. We had the African churches and all that out here while he been out here. So he been a lot of things he said as if he been a Moor. When I go back and look now, a lot of things he said he been saying as if he been a Moor in the 1500s. And then he'll go back to saying them in a way like how Moors say him now under this rule, this understanding we under with this quasi-Latin called English. So we see their dominions and habitation extended, this chapter 47 verse 7. Their dominions and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa. So a lot of people claim that he's talking about what we know of as Africa today. That's what we assume that he believe. And you see the Malila right there, that man we're talking about? We're going to get to that next soon. Northeast and southwest Africa, across the Great Atlantis. So he's talking about all Africa and all of America already. That's clear as close what he been talking about when he meant Northwest and Mexico. When they say across the Great Atlantis, he already included Northwest and Mexico on this side, Northwest Africa of this part, and the rest. Okay, so 1920 he make that statement. Fast forward to 1992, the Duchess of the Medina Sidonia family made this map that we looking at. And in this map, she realized that during the times of the 13, 14, 15, 16, even now, but we don't notice. We don't notice, so it don't exist. If you don't know, it don't exist. But that's what she had known. And she know 24 degrees north of the equator and 24 degrees south of the equator was referred to as Africa, and up until very late. And in the later years, only the nobles know, and the masses didn't. Because whatever map they get from out the church, that's what map gonna be. And they still going by today, Moors in America. So they said another right after it, right? I'm gonna show you how much he had know about all this right here. He ain't had time to explain all this, but he did explain it all. I'm showing you now in the least amount of words as possible. See, the river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the pharaohs of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and extended eastward from the river Nile westward across the Great Atlantic again. So you're going across the Atlantic Ocean. Where else you need to head? It was used for trade and transportation, and even still doing that at this time when she researched. It's still like that. And that's where they hiding. And you got plenty archaeologists, historians, Romans. It don't matter. Plenty of people who still talk about that ain't even probably ever heard of Noble Drawley. And they talk about that writing books in the 1980s and shit like that all over the world. And plenty of people got this going back showing Then you got the river Negro and the Nile connected with the um, Rio and the Nile. That just means the Great River. Mississippi is a great river. You got the Rio Grande, which is Great River in Spanish. You got the Negro and the Niger, just because they changed the language, though both of them means Black River. You got tons of Black rivers. And you got them in English too. So it would make sense that maps continue to be used even after a long time, and people just forget. The place name may forget, place name lasts, but the people forget where the. Let me see. The Kingdom of Fez. And again, the northwest portion of Morocco, and stole Morocco, the land of God. That's why you had New Jerusalem. That's why he raised the flag there. You got Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You got Bethlehem up there. You got all kind of biblical terms in the northeastern portion. That's Morocco, the land of God. That's why I got the biblical terms up there. We already talked about the Bacallos trade between Andalusia and the northeastern. But when you see in that map, it show this part connected to this part is connected to this part anciently. Even if the land already looked like this, the evidence there that trade been going on between these cultures and these people in this Atlantic on both sides long before even a term called Spain or Portugal. But that's where they're going to tell you everything come from, between them two. These people who trying to rebut you. But she ain't had to do this. She the Duchess of the Medina Sidonia family. That's Spain. She rebut herself. So we talking about Rio de Oro, which is supposed to be in Morocco. You're right, in the Kingdom of Morocco. You had another Rio de Oro for the Portuguese, but you will start to see on maps the Rio de Oro disappear, which would be smart because that's the river of gold. Put that shit somewhere else, and now people going to look for the river of gold. And where your real river of gold is Minas Gerais, the whole land of Brazil. So we had maps like this a long time ago. It ain't been like how it is the 7 continents, and we had no like that in our mind back then. It been wherever climate or degrees from certain times. So a whole certain amount of degrees, but Africa, before we get the whole world, change the mind state of the world to think differently from this way of thinking. They much had the same way of thinking back then. And when the Christians started finding these maps, see, these Moorish maps could be the first person that even had maps. So when the Portuguese and Spanish started getting maps, they've been getting the maps from these, making their own. But some of the stuff that they keep, that's why you got the East and the West Indies. Because they've still been using these maps until they continue to change them over and over until we get what we see today. You see Africa, land of blacks, it's in a certain degrees. That means it ain't just the real, they call West Africa on maps. The Spanish, they start putting on maps Tierra de Negros over here, or Negro land. But that been the whole script going all the way across, even Asia. They've been between certain degrees. And you can tell these navigation maps because they got hours and days and degrees. They moving around. Country Strait of Berbers always just means land of Moors. So that's the ones he been trying to tell me. Wikipedia, they ain't gonna never tell you about the ones that here, Rio de Negros and Rio Oros that still here today. But they got a story album over here today that they just make that up with the Spanish or the Portuguese name that. Yeah, because they still been in Africa on those maps. See, map of Castilla de Oro, which just means Afgol. They changed these from Rio de Oro, which is the Magdalena today. They changed that because the Portuguese already been calling theirs on this side Rio de Oro. And they've been dealing back and forth with them. What are you looking for? I forget. Magdalena. The Magdalena need his own movie and it need his own class. That's how deep the Magdalena is. They have to do a whole series just on that river. Rio de Oro, Agua de Carlos, the Red Scott. The Red Scott means that's where they dealing with slavery, they're dealing with ransoms and rescues. Sama, Mina, which is the mine. The rescues of gold. They ain't just quote unquote rescuing gold. They cargo and trafficking, human trafficking, all kinds of shit where they can get. Santa Marta, that's one of the bases. And the fact that the Kingdom of Granada and New Andalusia over here, that should be like a die moment. That these ain't been the same Spaniards they been talking about. These been the real true history of the wars between Moors and the Spaniards. And that's in America. The other side just been to throw you off, even in Spain. Apparently, look how big this place is compared to that low ass place over there. Both of them is Morocco and Spain. You can put 100 in Morocco and Spain over here. So you got De Oro. It's nothing. We're looking at all this like, what else could it be? Right here in our face. Even up where we at, Marpaquena, Rio de Oro. They probably not erase that now because they know that's the river of gold and that's yours. That's the Portugal, Mina de Oro, the river of the slaves, Rio de los Esclavos. That's been the Canaries. That's from Portuguese point of view. Then you got modern time, they still calling it Rio de Oro, bringing back the old word. You see, now Rio de Oro. They changed to Castillo de Oro. Now Panama. All maps. Right here we see the Gulf of the Blacks with Negri, which is plural. Gulfo de Negri, the Gulf of the Blacks. They've been in Africa at this time. They've been over here. This is Brazil, see? Cape of the Placel, that's important to know. Could be dealing with a lot of stories dealing with that Cape that they don't want over here. And that same Cabo Blanco, they make a lot of stories about that and throw that out there because they don't want you talking about this Cabo Blanco right there. It's a better one. Man, a lot of stuff on here I can name, but I'll be here all day. Cartago. We got Leon, which was supposed to became Portugal. Another Cape Blanco, White Cape. It's nothing. Grenada over here. This Panama is the Castillo de Oro. And a lot of these just been Moors who've been already speaking like this. It's like a mix. It's the same thing on the peninsula, like the Andalusians, the Moors later. Way before 1492, already been speaking a mixed Latin, Arabic type language. Even over here and over there at the same time. That's what they don't get. New Andalusia been New Andalusia before 1492. Same things. The Cape of the Cross, the first cross. And right here you see San Barbaro, Barbary. Another Cape Blanco on the coast of Sierra. They say Sierra or Kiera. Now they just got Kiera. But back then they ain't even that no. Is this Sierra Leone? Yes, it is. But you see how things change. Now they only know of one Sierra, and that's Sierra Leone in Africa. The one over here is still called Kiera on Google Maps. They ain't no all now. Okay, white, yeah. Different years, different map makers. They study that day just in Portuguese. They trying to change the language. A Cabo Branco instead of the Spanish. Right here we see Mogador, and they say the conquista of the Grand Mogador, Mogolo. Another way of saying Mogolo, victory of the conquista of the Grand Mogolo. Mogolo is Mogador. Let's see if they give you the Mogolo first. Eritrea. They got the big Mongol. In Mogador, Ohio. They spell like Ohio. They're from North America, that why. So that's the Mogador Island. They can tell me is the one. So they don't even much mention it could another term Mogador or Mukador. If you probably go searching for the Berber version, you probably will find that spelled a little different, right, in South America. But I'm looking for Mogolo. That's a version, but I don't think they're gonna tell you. Let's see if they got the guts. Sir. Definitely got something to do with Sir. City. And when we say city, we talking about Mogador. Technically. Mogador Island, we talk about that. Manuel the First, Portuguese. That's what they could tell me. That, oh, that's why that there. That's why that there. Memora. All this right here talking about America. If you want to go look at some interesting shit, read this and just know they talking about America. Look at that Graciosa. Graciosa is what Columbus name. That damn Graciosa on the islands. Mazagal. The French probably call them more a lot of Dutch. Some of the stuff happened on that side, and some of the stuff happened on. But all the stuff that happened on this side, they put on that side too. Make that thing really fanatical. In fact, it's cool. Ahmed the English. Look into Ahmed the English. El Inglés. So yeah, they ain't gonna do that. Let me search. Nope. So let's continue. Anyway, Bethlehem, and the Para. Some of these stuff. But you know, across from Bethlehem, we know the New Kingdom Affairs. But we see in this map, they don't put Kingdom, the New City Affairs. They just say the New Villanova. That just means new city, or new village, Villa Nova. Raping the Villa Nova de Fez. So you can see how they just take that part off and keep the rest. But now we know where we at. No problem. And you see Villa Nova de El Rey. So the new city of the king, which was the king of Morocco. That was his kingdom. City right there at the Mount of the Para. We're going to get into that in a little second. So conquered killed with a head of the Visigoth Bishopric of Morocco. Once the duplicity of the pontiff was resolved by Martin V in 1418, the king of Portugal obtained a cross. Since they want to use Portugal all the time in Spain, we're going to show you what they say. Obtained a cross in Fez. The same year, the Portuguese published the discovery, quote unquote, of Madeira, reflecting the progress of Portugal in the retreat of the doubles of Moorish Gaul, reduced the new kingdom, which is the new kingdom of Granada. The currency of Granada lost weight and law, ceasing to be patron in Andalusia. So that show us in before 1492 that Moors already in Colombia. This already exists in 1418, so Wikipedia ain't going to tell you that. They just say the 16th century was a name given to a group, colonial provinces. So they reconstructing all the history. Oh yeah, our word against theirs, but I'll put my word against them. I'm telling you, because we got these documents. They gonna run it when those documents come out, because they know they lying. So they reflect. I know they lying. I can tell by how you read that they putting certain things in there and taking certain things out on purpose. They reduced the new kingdom, the currency of Granada lost weight and law, ceasing to be a patron in Andalusia. So once Portugal in 1418 get control of that mine over there in Castile de Oro and other things, they mess up the trade that been already going on with Castile and all these other kingdoms, Granada in 1418, the Moors in Granada, overseas. So economic decline favored internal dissension, which weakened the Muslim kingdom. Seated the first factories of the Order of Corona. Juan first sent Knights of Christ to the Pope to request the investiture of the conquest of the Kingdom of Fez, still talking about the same American area, obtained in 1430 with the decline of the Canary Islands, the Indies, awarded to Castile. Alonso V controlled at his death the trade of Africa and Guinea, quote unquote, from the coast of the Rio de Oro to the island of Santa Catalina, indeterminate, which is situated at 8 degrees. So we even got evidence of Moors by following the bloodline of Spain and Portugal. We don't even need the Arabic, the records written by a lot of these Moors. We don't even need a case already closed. We can just use some of the records that they write in Spanish though. Required Ibn Yusuf in Morocco for new disturbances, wanting to ensure the tranquility of a small state establishing truth. Leading the delegation that was to negotiate it, we found Garcia Martin de Gallegos and a Christian gentleman who lived in Alanmar. So he's saying no references to Moors in America. We give you a lot. Ibn Yusuf left, reunited with his son Prince Abed-Cope, who besieged Tlemcen in 1276. So we're going all the way back to 1276 on you. So showing you that ain't nobody else even know what's going on in America no damn 1276. Ain't nobody know what's going on in 1490, 1491. They only know from November 1492. And that's any party who call themselves a historian on earth. I can't find nobody else who got a different understanding and can show me. Even if you're right or wrong, at least show me so I can make that decision. But these records exist. In the 1276, he transformed the royal planet 2 miles west of the capital of Gormazana in the Valley Nueva. See, they keep that part of Villanova, the Spanish version, or the old Latin version, Villanova, of Fez. They just don't put up Fez no more. Or you ain't gonna find no map with that. Called to be the capital of Mauritania while the Beni Marines reigned. History identified Al-Arachi with the Phoenician Lixus located in the Garden of Hesperides, which Caboto and Oviedo identified with America. Corsair shelter conquered by Alfonso of Portugal, and they give you names of people who you can go check, see what they talking about. I can't do all that for you, just like Noah Draw. I can give you as much date and references as possible. conquered by Alonso. So if I can't just like read the whole book, I could try. Covered by Muhammad in the 16th century. The place was acquired by Philip III, called the Second Lawson in 1689 at the hands of the last emperor of Morocco. Aranchi was 15 leagues from Marmora and some Guineas that formed the Kingdom of Fez. So you already know, ain't no goddamn Guinea on this side form no Kingdom of Fez. If you want to be that dense, even if you want to see this Guinea, I go to the closest one possible right here. Ain't no reference in your Roman history talking about that being the Kingdom of Fez. So you're talking about a different one. Kingdom of Fez up here to you, not you who listening, but the person who write that account actually telling me saying no seat of the Moors dealing with America. That means you don't know nothing about your history. The Fez right here. They want you to believe all the history of Fez happened right here in this Fez. All these just terms meaning that the Moors of America, showing you an ancient empire that stretched from north and southwest, northeast and southeast Africa, across the Great Atlantics to the south and northwest and all that. He tell you that in 1920. Now we showing you. See, that formed the Kingdom of Fez, probably in or near Cayenne, which is supposed to be really Guyenne. Just changed form over time. You know it's French. Rome included it. You see, Rome and the Vatican, they keep the records, and then every country that they got control of, that's who will teach the children. Even all HBCUs is Rome. Included in the conquest of Portugal, which Castilla claimed, included in New Andalusia. So that's what New Andalusia is. That's why you got the Spanish Melilla that he been telling me about over here in this phase, because of that. Because they had the real Melilla showing you the fake one. Well, not the fake one, but the one that ain't under that person's feet. Because most of these people from here, the person who write this book go and speak to the king of Morocco and Morocco, the one in they mind. So go question him, because he noticed why he telling you. He already noticed. He been noticed since the 90s when she going to talk to him, or before that. For all we know. So in the maps of the 16th century, it go Mera appear in the upper Amazon. In the chronicles, so this historical, he says not one history reference to the Sultan of Morocco having any seat of power over here in America. I give him that and a little bit more. In the chronicle, it'll say that in the 13th century, so the 1200s, going into the 13th, Ab Yaqub, king of Morocco, so that's his sultan, that's all that means, was assassinated in the Villa Nueva de Fez, which we show you as in America. And they named that the new city because the old one, this one older over here, believe it or not. Moors who had get exiled from Cordoba. This after 7-Eleven. No, yeah, this 1276. Yeah, they went to Cordoba. A bunch of lawyers and a bunch of learned men. They get exiled from other Moors who've been there, and they come over here and establish the new city of Fez. But this already been part of the Moorish Empire. They know that, learned men know that all over the world. Because they everywhere, they never thought of how we think today, like, this my homeland and that somebody homeland, that's this person homeland. Ain't matter where we go out on earth, we home. Common sense. A courtier suspected of having plotted the crime took refuge in Gomera, as she was originally from the place, as an assumption. We know that an internal borders touched Gran Canaria because Fernando Peraza, Lord of La Gomera, died in the ambush at Mercados, near Gran Canaria. So we already know Mercados is in America. The discoverer, usual stopover, La Gomera on the Guinea and Indies route. The immediate Portuguese port was known as Madeira. The Castilians called the coast Herrero. And Columbus on his first trip, and Pedro Alonso Nino going to discover Las Perlas play in Gomera and Herrero, showing you that both of them went on this side, and both of them called different things by different groups. They call Madeira, they call Herrero in Castile, and they call Africa, Guinea, Morocco, different things. Fez. So as both were one word from Paria, that's what they've been at. The Treaty of Sintra, signed in 1509, awarded them to Portugal. Treaty of Sintra. Say Normans, Portuguese, and other navigators habitual of the Africa of the West have gone down in history as imaginative, unredeemed. And she realized the whole world not fall for the modern day Africa. And they going back and looking at old books, and when they don't match up to the modern day version, like a Morocco that's plush and got a lot of rivers like Brazil, they just try to say that the navigator been talking about it, imaginary stuff. Obstinate in describing landscapes impossible to the northwest of Africa, where the scholars places them, the so-called scholars. In 1637, the general of the sea and coast of these borders by His Imperial Majesty, the King of Fez of Morocco. So that's not only the Sultan of Morocco, the Sultan of Fez and Morocco over here. Governor of the city, suburb, and Sheila de Saleh resided in the city of Saleh. Across the river was the Alcaldes Cagzaba de Saleh, not Rabat, which is on the other side, which has not changed its name since the 13th century. Rabat or Rabat, with the Fez found in 818. That's the one on the other side. Were in the Algarve of Barbaria, which is the west of the Barbary, which is what we call Morocco today, in Fez. That's what even called Algarve de Barbaria. So we talk about this a lot. They be giving you maps showing you that how Europeans come down here, turn this corner, going to North, South Africa, going down here, get slaves and bring them to America. But the wind ain't even gonna let them do that. Push their ass to America all the time. and people starting to realize who dealing with the winds and the trades that in a way that the Moors could come from Morocco and Spain and not get pushed a lot of times into, and not just the Moors, but everybody playing around the streets in history. Once you get on this side of the streets, you have no choice but to go come to America sooner or later if you're on sales. And they take us on modern times to see. And they on regular sales, old school sales like back in the day, Egyptian shit. They get the from Safi to Barbados. Sailing ships did not pay for North Africa. The few ships that scratched out to Congo, Angola, and to Sierra de Leone bought time going down the other coast to Pernambuco in Brazil to line up to Ascension Island like the ships from India. Without going down to the Cape, they went up to the other coast, returning the same way. Not to get lost in the calms of Guinea, they went up to the Azores. What she realizes that even in the times that's more modern, she realized that they ain't never been in from Europe and coming down into this area of Africa. But all the stories suggest that, using terms like Africa, Guinea, Angola, all these terms. But from the most ancient times, they had to have been hitting this, because that's what they always been doing. Even in the 1500s and 1600s, they still been doing that because of certain reasons. So they've been doing that anciently. They were going to India, coming back around this corner, and they were hitting this area to come up back into Portugal. A lot of the stories that Portugal deal with the Moors of India, and these stories been happening in this Indies, because they had an East Indies. They call India. The coast of the Cape Aguirre Islands and coastal navigation, slower than that of height, was navigated in 9 days, which represented an approximate distance of 300 leagues. When she realized that was the same thing they were talking about when they started talking about the Brazilian discovery. They started using that number when they count. The same one that Santa Gadea attributed to the coast of Guinea, typical of the Sharif. The Kingdom of Morocco, like the lordship, seemed to have extended from the Punta de Allende, or the first cross, like we see on that map, the border of Guinea, and the beginning of Brazil to the mouth of the Oiapoque River. Border between the Kingdom of Fez and Morocco. Today it is between Brazil and French Guiana. We suppose that the Levant of the Barbary include the coast of North Africa, right? That's what he supposed. Located in the east of Morocco, because that just means the land of Moors. So it can be anywhere we call the land of Moors, known as Maghreb or extreme west, quote unquote. But the Levant, quote unquote, of those ancestors was the South America. Like Noble Drell even talking about their dominions and habitations. Domains mean the land they got governmental control of, and habitation means where they live. Indigenous and got the divine right, the land title. From prior to the Marinars, said Abdel Quarren, former mayor of the Arcilla, did not aspire to refuge in Turkey, went for the second asked for license to exchange his exile in Lisbon for Levant. He even talking about the East as in Turkey. But I bet you, if you go read that story on right now, that's where they're gonna put it. So after this We're gonna end it, and then we get back to the regularly scheduled program. I could go on, but just let me know if you want me to. Colombianism, that's what everybody's suffering from. Columbus was not the discoverer, but he was the inventor of the Indies. Like any tourist promoter, it massified a land frequented by minorities, quite possible elitists. A fisherman can be elite if he knows the meaning of the term ethics and apply it to his behavior. And a king, the opposite of having a rough and rapacious spirit. The Genoese, Columbus, managed to make even the tailors want to discover, quote unquote. And he put, so you know, I say they making up these fantasy shit that already been. He making a movie, something that seemed new and fresh to the world, known propaganda. And he put gold species in arms at the disposal of the Catholic. Juan II of Portugal did not grasp the scope of the operation in its beginnings. He was still trying to deal with the old way of discovering, which is conquering that motherfucker. Fight some wars, see if you can get some deals or something, get some money. But she put on something. We're gonna take this thing and it could be the year 2021. We still gonna have that thing. It could be what they call it, a melting pot. Everybody will keep hiding us. So then he say, assuming the discoverer aspiring to a routine concession in the vicinity of his demarcation to avoid confusion, the aftermath of the change, and the instability of the place names, the monarch refrained from naming the islands rediscovered, and the rediscoverer, that each owner altered the denomination of the same parcel, did not affect those who knew. That's the thing about this situation. It ain't really matter what information get put out there. Certain people ain't fall for the information, and certain people won't. And we go into different points of views, and we can find all different versions of this. Say they knew which one they were referring to, and at one point they touched. And at what point they touched, speaking indistinctly of Africa, Guinea, or Barbary. So that means all those terms can be anyway, because that's how different people speak. A favorite name of Canaries and Andalusians for indicating that they practice horseback riding and pillage in the land of Moors, enemies of the Holy Faith. So that's been the reason why you see a lot of the old pre-1492 Spaniards who already bring the war over here and all over, way before 1492 people. They've been still going to war with Moors and Barbary, holy wars. Spanish started fighting Indians in their stories, and not just fighting them, destroying them and civilizing them in their stories. But the Andalusians and the other converted Moors or whoever coming from that side been calling it Africa, Barbary, Guinea. You had the Duke of Medina Sidonia still calling it Morocco and Fez. And you know, land of Moors, which is America. Idiomatic corruption, easily understandable terms Guinea into Guyana, and the logic in East Africa is what we know today as such, also called Ethiopia and more commonly Angola and Congo. So we know not to get it twisted about when we see these place names, we talking about a whole different world compared to these times. Can't put our modern day maps in these times. It's not gonna work. So moreover, if the boats were which the Moroccans go out from Morocco to Spain were sailing, a lot of boats would appear in 20 days in Brazil and Guyana, because the currents and the winds make sailings from the straits very easy in that direction. We just show you that on that map what these people did in modern day times. In that direction, it is difficult to say that for 1,000 of years it has not been possible to reach America being so easy. But people ain't gonna care. The only person they could get that credit to was your boy Columbus in Spain, Castillo. For 1,000 years, nobody else. Not even the people who ruled this area before it been Spain for 700 years. They ain't even been good enough to do it. According to these guys. So, and you see, that's the trick. Ain't that they wrong. He completely wrong. He make the claim that there is not one. And as Moors, we shouldn't even speak that in general as a something that, like how we know, we see every piece of historical reference. Of the Song of Morocco, we got the diaries and shit, translating it from Arabic from those time periods. We got that. We got, you know, not one historical reference. Just saying that. And then I think I just drop a pound of evidence on his face. Alright, so peace till next time.